A storm is coming, Frank says. A storm that will swallow the children, and I will deliver them from the kingdom of Bane. I will deliver the children back to their doorsteps. I'll send the monsters back to the underground. I'll send them back to a place where no one else can see them. Except for me. Because I am Donnie Darko.
Friends, it's that time of year. The weather is getting colder, the nights are getting spookier, and my watch list is getting weirder.
You're weird.
Sorry.
Among the classics for Halloween movie nights is Richard Kelly's directorial debut that both shocked attendees of Sundance in 2001, as well as risen to the ranks of the coveted title cult classic in the more than 20 years since it was made. It's a movie that resonates with teenagers on a level that few movies have in the past couple of decades, and on its own it stands as a crowd-pleasing adventure that is sure to intrigue you as much as it confuses you. I'm talking, of course, about the time-traveling, water-bending, and deliciously disturbing story of Donnie Darko.
Donnie Darko.
Donnie Darko.
Donnie Darko?
Mr. Darko.
Donnie.
Donnie Darko?
Donnie Darko.
Donnie Darko.
Our Donnie.
Donnie Darko.
Donnie Darko. You know, when I was 13 or 14, my English teacher put this movie on for us in class at the end of the day, and I don't remember exactly why he did that, but I do remember that the movie really made an impression on me. I borrowed a VHS from a friend that night and watched it again, and most of my intrigue came from the incredibly complex plot, but mixed with the feeling of a John Hughes movie gone full emo. It was exactly what 14-year-old me was into.
But I'm over all that. I'm painting and stuff.
And in the years since, I've seen this movie at least once a year, and many times more than that, and every time I've tried to describe this movie to someone who hasn't seen it, I find myself romanticizing the movie's tone and angsty mood over the deeper themes and overall plot. And that's because, as we all know, Donnie Darko is just one of those movies that you kinda have to see.
You know, I love that movie, the way they shot it. It's so, like futuristic, you know?
So, today's episode is going to be a very dark trip down memory lane as we reawaken my inner teenager and figure out once and for all, what's Donnie Darko really about? Donnie Darko is the story of a teenage boy who's visited in what he thinks are hallucinations by a strange man in a bunny suit who tells him that the world is coming to an end and it's up to Donnie to stop it. Along the way, we're in for an unraveling mystery of time travel, tangent universes, and even a definitive deconstruction on the sex lives of Smurfs. What?
Smurfs are asexual. They don't even have reproductive organs under those little white pants.
Now, this movie could be described in a number of ways with varying degrees of truth to each. Some people would call it a science fiction movie, and some would say it's a borderline horror, and I've even heard it described as a coming-of-age film with supernatural elements. And to be fair, those are all pretty accurate.
There are other things that need to be taken into account here, like the whole spectrum of human emotion.
But as is tradition on this show, we will not be going on an Easter egg hunt, but instead, we're gonna watch the movie and investigate the background and behind the scenes of it, and then I'm gonna formulate my own theory on what this movie is really about. Oh, and for the super fans out there, don't worry. I'll be watching the Richard Kelly director's cut of the movie so we can get as granular as we want.
I could spend my whole life debating it over and over again, weighing the pros and cons, and in the end, I still wouldn't have any proof.
So, Donnie, played by Jake Gyllenhaal, is a troubled but mostly average suburban teenager. The only thing is, he's got a severe sleepwalking problem, often taking him miles away from his house in the middle of the night. And one night, Donnie is visited by Frank, a mysterious man in a Halloween costume whose face is hidden under a sinister-looking bunny mask.
Why are you wearing that stupid man suit?
Frank tells Donnie that the world is coming to an end, and we're immediately left wondering what the f*** is going on.
There's nothing broken in my brain.
I know.
The film is about life. It's about the complexity of life. It's about a boy becoming a man. It's about a man confronting himself. It's about the death of the Reagan era. Yeah, it's about a whole lot of things. But part of what's essential for me is it's not about any one thing, right? It's about a broad spectrum of the human experience. And it can't just be reduced to a single explanation. And that's what I'm most proud of, is that you can continually get lost in it and try to navigate your way through the story again and again and again, and hopefully see something new every single time.
It's established in the movie that Donnie suffers from a few mental health afflictions that call into question the validity of any of the supernatural activity that he's experiencing. And of course, this is by design. Richard Kelly talked on the director's cut commentary about how he unintentionally wrote Donnie as some sort of reflection of himself.
Maybe you should be the one in therapy, then Mom and Dad can pay someone $200 an hour to listen to all your thoughts, so we don't have to.
This, of course, isn't anything new. I mean, we all have an inherent case of main character syndrome when it comes to writing what we know, and while it can be a bit heavy-handed on the tragic leading man who always seems like the smartest guy in the room, the character is still very well balanced with enough realistic flaws and development that it really works for this kind of story.
Damn it, Donnie, why do you gotta get so smart on us?
When a mysterious jet engine falls from the sky and lands on Donnie's house, it crashes through the roof and lands directly over Donnie's bed. A bed that Donnie would have been sleeping in, and by extension, died in if he hadn't been sleepwalking with his new friend that night. This isn't explained directly in the film, but what happens is that Donnie was supposed to be killed by that engine, but by not dying in the accident, he caused a split in the timeline, which created a tangent reality.
The idea of a fourth dimension, I don't think that any human brain could ever comprehend what the fourth dimension really is, and that's where you get into the God machine kind of thing. With the director's cut, what I'm putting out there is that if these people of Middlesex succeed in sending that jet engine back and helping this kid and his superpowers send this jet engine back, that they've proved something, that they've contacted something. They've contacted a divine higher power or something, and
oh, I don't like that.
Yeah.
Keep that one to yourself.
Now, none of the town's residents seem consciously aware of this, but the movie has an eerie tone that sort of implies that deep down, they all know that something is not right, and it has to do with Donnie. And this new reality is where our film takes place.
It fell from the plane. Then what happened to the plane?
Donnie's day-to-day life leading up to the end of the world is mostly a series of disturbing events that serve as building blocks for the surprising yet inevitable conclusion. Donnie doesn't know how, but he's got to save the world after all. On his mission list is flooding his high school by slashing a water main with an axe and sticking the weapon in the head of the school's mascot, and the only explanation that we get for any of this, at first, is the words, "They made me do it," written by Donnie on the sidewalk. Now, let's stick a pin in that for later.
What else? What else? Principal Cole, I'll show you what else.
Donnie mostly goes about his days like a normal kid. He has his friends, a few enemies, including Seth Rogen, and even a new girlfriend named Gretchen, who seems to be just as f***ed up as Donnie.
I guess some people are just born with tragedy in their blood.
Now, one thing to know about the character of Donnie Darko is that in the context of this story, he's a good kid. He's played as mature for his age, but Gyllenhaal did a wonderful job of portraying that underlying teenage innocence and ignorance that shines through in every scene. Donnie's parents, while having their own individual flaws, love him and genuinely show him warmth and support no matter what. It's sort of understood that he's misunderstood, if that makes any sense.
How's it feel to have a wacko for a son?
It feels wonderful.
He acts out and has a very rebellious streak, but he's not really hurting anyone or doing anything other than just not complying with school activities and etiquette.
He asked me to forcibly insert the lifeline exercise card into my anus.
When approaching a role, it's sort of hard to figure out because there's so many things that he gets hit with. I think that Donnie is what he comes in contact with. In the simplest terms, like in most abstract terms, I could say it's a journey. Like it's just a journey about discovering who you are. And the irony of the whole thing is that, like, hopefully by the end, it's not only Donnie who realizes it, but the audience in a way. And they have to go back and they have to watch it again, and they have to watch it again. But it's just like this ridiculous, fantastic, completely absurd yet completely naturalistic and realistic mixture of humor, like sadness, comedy, and madness, like rolled up in this ball of this like crazy story journey.
And if you're cute and you're horny, then you're probably happy that you don't know who you are or why you're even alive.
The people of Middlesex, the fictional suburban town that Donnie lives in, are all unique characters that this movie could follow on their own and still make it captivating. Among them is Donnie's antagonistic and conservative teacher, Miss Farmer, and his much cooler teacher, Miss Pomeroy, played by Drew Barrymore, who also produced the film. And we also have Donnie's sister, played by Maggie Gyllenhaal, his two parents, and who could forget the town's favorite resident, Jim Cunningham.
Pay close attention. You could miss something.
Hello. My name is Jim Cunningham.
One night, Donnie and Gretchen are out at a midnight movie when Gretchen falls asleep in her seat, and Donnie is visited once again by Frank. This time, Frank reveals himself to be a handsome young teen with a horrible wound on his eye. We aren't sure who he is and how he connects to Donnie just yet, but he asks Donnie to go to Jim Cunningham's house and burn it to the ground. Another mission that isn't clear to us just yet, but remember, we're coming back. See, when Donnie floods his school, class gets canceled, which is how he meets Gretchen when he saves her from bullies walking home. When he burns down the house, it gets exposed that the town hero, Jim Cunningham, is actually a depraved child predator with a secret room dedicated to his crimes. This exposes him and leads to his arrest. Meanwhile, Donnie is also experiencing his perceived hallucinations again, only this time he sees a floating stream of liquid coming from the chests of his family, which all seem to lead them on their own paths. This seems like imagery meant to tell us that their actions are predetermined. But how? Well, we're not there yet.
If we were able to see our destinies manifest themselves visually, then we would be given a choice.
Donnie's path leads him to his father's closet where he finds a loaded handgun. Now, while all of this is going on, there's all sorts of little subplots to follow as well. One of which is the discovery Donnie makes of an old book on time travel written by the town's local shut-in, Roberta Sparrow, aka Lady Death. See, Lady Death wrote a book on time travel, and when Donnie discovers it, he realizes that that's the key to preventing the world from ending. He needs to go back, but he doesn't know how or when to go to. So, in order to get the real reveal of this movie, we need to cover how it all goes down in the final act. Brace yourselves.
The storm is coming. You must hurry.
It's Halloween, 1988. And Donnie's parents are out of town. His mom is on a last-minute flight to take his younger sister Sam to a dance contest. His father isn't home, and he and his older sister decide to throw a party to celebrate his sister getting into college. Tonight is the night that will change everything. Tonight is the final night on Donnie's doomsday calendar. Tonight, the world ends.
Then he said that the world was coming to an end.
Do you think the world is coming to an end?
While at the party, Donnie feels drawn to Lady Death's home to visit her cellar. This idea was planted in his head when Miss Pomeroy told him that the words cellar door were the prettiest combination of words in the English language. Upon arriving with Gretchen and his friends, his bullies attack them and attempt to kill Donnie. And in the struggle, Gretchen is knocked down in the road and run over by a speeding car. Oof. Do you remember the first time you saw this shit? Ugh, it messed me up. So, it's revealed that Frank is actually Elizabeth's boyfriend, and when Donnie sees him, he pulls out his father's gun and shoots Frank in the eye, killing him. It's a scene that feels like it simultaneously ties everything together while also raising even more questions. Donnie takes Gretchen's body back and carries out his final heroic deed when he turns back time to the night of the plane crash and goes home to lay in bed and greet his ultimate demise. Donnie even laughs as he awaits his death, knowing that the final solution is to erase himself from the people he loves' lives. And this undoes everything that occurred in the Tangent universe and sets the main timeline back on course.
The Deus Ex Machina, the God Machine, that's what saved the rabbits.
The idea of an insurance trap, that this accident is going to ensure that mankind, the fate of all mankind, will be saved. And even Catherine Ross, her character with the placebo scene that was important to restore to the film, she's not going to give Superman Ritalin. You know, he might fly into a wall. You don't do that. You don't give Superman drugs.
So what happened? I mean, what the hell is this movie about? Well, again, in the director's commentary, which I highly recommend, Kelly explains that what's going on between the lines is that when Donnie didn't die in the plane crash, he created a new timeline, which somehow causes the world to end in the future. And apparently, the idea is that in the future, they have technology that allows them to communicate with other timelines, and these unknown heroes of the future need to track Donnie down in his Tangent universe and subconsciously guide him to destroying the Tangent universe he created by not dying. And of course, this would explain why it feels like each person Donnie interacts with is unknowingly guiding him to the ultimate conclusion. Drew Barrymore gives him a subliminal clue to go to the cellar. Miss Farmer is the one who had to cancel and ask Donnie's mom to go on the dance trip, which is the plane that the engine comes from. And all of Donnie's arson, vandalism, and destruction of property caused the events of the story to set into motion, which all led to this finale. So basically, it's a movie about a kid who's visited by reverse ghosts from the future that need his help to destroy his own universe to save the main universe. Sounds like some kind of superhero.
It's like some sort of superhero or something.
What makes you think I'm not?
Donnie also has water superpowers, which is a bit clearer in the director's cut, but you never see him do anything magical or mystical, and this of course was an artistic and possibly budgetary choice made by Richard Kelly, but I think it actually makes the movie better. The whole movie is meant to be ambiguous, and I wholeheartedly believe that that's why so many different types of people love this movie. Now, what do I think Kelly was really trying to say with this story? Well, after taking all of this into account and relying on my own interpretation of what this movie is, it plays to me as a movie that's exploring the complex inner feelings of a young kid who wants to simultaneously blend in and stand out. An elaborate story that serves as Kelly's future self going back in time to tell his past self that all the pain, all the loneliness, all the darkness, it'll all lead to a brighter and happier future. In a lot of ways, it just feels like Kelly is trying to say that all the bullshit you go through as a teen is what makes you who you are today. And hopefully, that's a good thing.
What the fuck, ass?